Okay, yeah, good evening, everybody. As Chris was saying at one point that the people using the website complain when they go to all courses, then you'll see there's all kinds of stuff on here. So if you now look at the menu here at the top, I've created something that says candidate courses. So if you click on it now, you see all the toolbox talks, all the stuff that is pertaining to the candidates are all on here. So you don't have to go and scroll through anything else. Everything is now on here for you. So, and by the way, if you've got contributions and stuff you want to add to it, course material or whatever, we can do that. It's no problem. But I've also introduced this info page here. So if you click on info, lots of the candidates come to me and say to me, Johan, I circle my ass off to get the relevant documents from ECSA. So I thought, let me shortcut this. So if you want to get the latest application form, there it is for the engineers, technologists, and technicians. So you can literally click on it. Okay, I'm not going to do it now. Then it will give you the form, you download it, and you can on with it. The competency standards for registration, which we talk about lots, it's here, you can download it. The application process and the estimate, the timing, it tells you exactly what happens with your application when you submit it, what happens to it, and how it goes through the whole system till professional registration or deferment, and how long it takes. So that whole thing is on there. The project life cycle is on there, nice little picture, so you can check it out. Outcome number 8, the usual code of conduct. So if you go for the interview and you think, yes, I'm not going to find it on ECSA's website, well, here it is. There's your fees if you want to know how much it will cost you. Yeah, I've also brought in some additional stuff like the alternative route to registration in the technologist category. So that's a whole guideline document. It's about 2-3 pages, 4 pages. That tells you exactly what you need to do, how you need to do, what you need to complete. So there's one for the technicians as well. And the application step by step. The differences between the categories is there, the outcomes and criteria for technologists, and then the outcomes and levels for registrations also on there. I've recently done this, so these are just the ones that I encountered or bumped into. And as I always say, this website's not mine, it's yours. I designed it for you. So you must say to me, Johan, I want this on here. Can you please give me or put in an example of a successful application, not but a template or something that I can use, or something about how do I prepare for the interview. Those are things that I'm still want to upload and also record them and then upload them here. And I think I was charging about I would say 20,000 Rand per video if you want to watch those ones, because that was really labor intensive. So, so there you go. I've created another space just for you guys, and you're welcome.
In any case, welcome everybody. We bring you this talk on registration, ECSA registration, with the compliments of the Institute of Professional Engineering Technologists. Although it's not only for technologists, it's for technicians, technologists, engineers. Everybody can gain from it. And it's free, as you know. We do it as a service to the industry and to the profession. And since we started doing this for free, a lot of other organizations have started doing the same. And in any case, we still do it as a service to our members and to those who want to register. I'm going to go to the today's presentation, and seeing that Chris is not with us, as I said before, he is he's working at Garib, and he's traveling home because he's on the construction site there, and he's got a weekend off, obviously, to come and see what is to be done at home. And so I prepared a bit of something for us. And as I said, this is from the Institute of Professional Engineering Technologists. If you want to know more about IPET, go to ipet.org.za, not co.za, but org.za. The co.za is the old website. I don't know whether it's still active, but we've got a new website there, and you will see on the new website last week Colonel Jordan, one of our past presidents, passed away, and we've got a very short in memoriam for him there. But just to mention that Colonel Jordan is not with us anymore. Fine, we've made these presentations and discussions available in good faith. We've tried to make the material as accurate as possible and reliable as possible, but we do not guarantee registration on the strength of these of the direction and guidelines and discussed in this webinar. So registration is still up to ECSA, and sometimes you get, some guys get an easy ride, and sometimes some of the guys get a difficult ride, and yeah, I cannot tell you what ECSA does. ECSA is an organization on their own. Oh, by the way, they've just appointed a new CEO there. This lady, civil engineer. I forget her name now, but just you can go on the ECSA website and you will see who that is. And good. So today we discuss the preparation of your form and the interviews for registration as a professional at ECSA, as well as some items that you should make sure to avoid. That's the aim. Now, first of all, you have to obtain and study all the documents provided by ECSA. ECSA has provided a lot of documents, and at the time when I was on the registration committee, which obviously is a couple of years ago, things were not so clearly set out. Today, everything is set out clearly, and there's lots of documents, and the documents are referred to under either PE, PT, PCE, or PN. That means if it's PE, it's for professional engineers. PT is for professional technologists. PCE is for professional certificated engineers. And don't call them certified engineers. They will be very upset because a certified engineer needs to be in an asylum. And then PN is for technicians. So the main thing you need to do is to look at R2, STA, PT for technologists, and that is the competency standard for registration in professional categories, and we refer to it as R02. R08 is the other important one. It's the guide to the competency standard, and we refer to it, as I said, as R08. The link is there, ECSA.co.za, but Johannes just told you that he's got it on his website as well, but you can use that link there, and should bring you to the point at ECSA. You will find on ECSA's website there's a part called Documents, and you go and look there. There's a lot of documents there, but you'll find it. It's not that difficult. If I can find it as a BC guy who was before computers, then you guys should easily find it. Then there's a list of all the stuff that you can download there and would help you. The application form, the policy on registration in professional categories, the competency standards, as I said, R02, processing of applications, which explains to you how it's done, the training and mentoring guide, R08, the competency standards, and E17 is the process for recognition of educational qualifications. That is if you don't have a South African accredited university qualification. Obviously, ECSA goes around and accredit all the universities and the universities of technology in South Africa, and all those qualifications are accredited, and you shouldn't have a problem. But if you come from Uganda, like the new ECSA president, the new ECSA CEO, then, and she was registered in 2013, you have to have your qualification assessed first. In any case, so that's all the various forms. Download them and make sure that you know what's in them. If you want to register on the alternate route, in other words, if you don't have the benchmark qualification for technologists, which presently is the BTech and the BET, etc., then you want, and you've been around for a long time and you want to register, go and look at the alternate route registration. There's the various forms that you need for that. Last toolbox, which was 2-3 weeks ago, we discussed this in detail, and that is on your website. I see somebody's raised their hand to ask a question. Nesma?
I'm sorry, I raised it by mistake.
Sorry?
It was
My
my mistake,
apologies.
so it's fine.
Okay,
Yes.
can I go on?
Yeah.
Fine. Now, before you fill in the documents, first thing is study the guidelines, the RO8. Make sure you read it all and you understand the contents. Read it slowly. When you fill in your forms, fill in what is asked, not what you think they should know. Make sure you see what they ask and then you answer those questions. It's a peer review process. In other words, technologists are, if you apply as a professional technologist, you are assessed by other professional technologists. You don't have a case where professional engineers assess you or technicians assess you. If you apply for a professional engineer, you are assessed by professional engineers. If you apply as a technician, you are assessed by professional technicians. That is a peer review process. In other words, it's people on the same level as you. Now, the other thing that you need to remember, all the assessors and everybody that has to do with your application, except the staff at ECSA, are all volunteers using their own time. I remember I used to get on a monthly basis about 20 applications, and I used to travel a lot. And so I would sit at the airport and do applications, sit on an airplane and do applications, and things like that, to be able to get through all these applications, read through them and assess them. So remember that these are volunteers using their own time. So spare a thought for them and make it easy for them. Now, remember, they don't know you and they don't know your work. So they can't read between the lines. They've only got your report and what you've said there to judge you by. Remember that. So in other words, you've got to make clear what you want to say, and you mustn't expect them to read between the lines or to know things that you haven't written down there. Now, the documents give all the required information in detail, as I've said. Make sure that you read and understand it before you start. Then you start preparing your initial draft. Now, after you've done a couple of pages, go back and reread those documents, because now you'll understand better what is required, and you can adjust your approach. You actually want to reread that documentation a number of times during the preparation. And then before you submit, read it a final time to make sure that you submit what is asked. This is a meticulous process of writing and editing to ensure that you submit that you submitted the required evidence in the format asked for. It's not a Saturday afternoon job. I remember, as I've told the story many a time, when I was on the registration committee, one day we received this application. It was a handwritten application, and you could see this guy had a couple of beers too many on a Saturday afternoon, and he was a big shot at some municipality, which I will not name. And he decided, well, these guys must now register me, and he filled this in. We looked at this, we had a good laugh, and we turned him down, obviously. So in other words, make sure that you do this meticulously. It'll probably take you 40 to 50 hours, in other words, a week's work full-time to do this over a period of time. You're not going to do it all at the same time. Now, in your report, you demonstrate your knowledge of the theory and the practical experience that you've applied in your engineering work. Your report and your presentations need to be clear, concise, short, and to the point. You'll see there's a lot of places where it says, use so many words, use so many words. If it says 50 words or 100 words, fine. They're not going to shoot you down if you use 110 words. But if you use 200 words where they say 100 words, it shows that you are not ready to be registered. You are not able to write in a clear, concise, professional way. The other thing is, don't be shy and downplay your contribution. You know, a lot of us grew up, went to Sunday school where they told us we must not brag. We must not, blow our own trumpet. In this case, this is an opportunity for you to say what you've really done, to brag a bit. So give a true picture without bragging too much, obviously. Keep to the truth. The other thing is, make sure that the spelling, the grammar, and the format is correct. And also, it's according to the guidelines where it says what font you have to use, what size font. If they say size 10 font or size 11 font, don't use size 7 and try and get more words in. It's going to be counted against you. Go according to the guidelines. Now describe your responsibility and contribution. Do not describe the project. A lot of people are prone to describe the project that they're working on and say, oh, this is what we do and that is what we do. This is such a fancy project. We don't want to know. The project is not registered. You are registered. So in other words, say, I was delegated responsibility to do this and this and this. And I was delegated full responsibility to do this and this and this if the buck stops with you. Say that. Don't fabricate. Report on your own work. Don't write stuff there that you didn't do to be fancy, to think that you've got to be registered easily. And don't get someone else to write it for you. You're going to be found out, and you will be in difficulties if you do that. Now, communication ability and the ability to interpret is judged and on the way that you fill the application in. Poor language gives a very poor impression. Don't use acronyms, trade jargon, and capitals. Some people fill the thing in capitals. You don't need to shout at the guys. You use ordinary, straight English as if you would be writing a report. That is what you're doing. Acronyms, the guys that do the assessment don't necessarily know the acronyms. You know, I grew up and I worked for many years in a railway environment. And if I talk about things like IRJ, nobody knows what it is. I know it's insulated rail joints. So that's trade jargon. Don't use that. Explain what you're doing and don't use acronyms. Remember that any report you write at work, and this report, any job you do is a picture of yourself. So in other words, if it's a rush job that you present to your boss, you give a poor picture of yourself. He will get a poor idea of who you really are. So in other words, any job you do, you need to take more time, even if you work a bit of overtime and all that, and do a good job. And in this case, it's even more true. Your ECSA application is a picture that you paint of yourself for the assessor. As I said, type in the required font. Don't use script because it's difficult to read, and some of these guys like me, you know, our eyes are not so good anymore. Fine. The referee reports. Now, referee reports for professional technologists, you're required to have 3 ECSA registered professionals. Why 3? I'll tell you why. Because we used to ask for 2. And then the one guy says, no, this guy is wonderful, we should be registered. And the next guy says, he's useless, he can't be registered. So what do you now believe? You've got 2 conflicting people. So that's why we ask for 3. So then if the one guy shoots you down, at least you've got 2 guys who are saying that you are registered. Don't ask your biggest enemy to be your referee. He's going to shoot you down. And so I know it's not always easy to find referees, but make sure that you find the right referees that's going to support your application. What they have to do, they have to comment on your engineering proficiency, your engineering conduct, and your delegated responsibility from their personal knowledge. In other words, they should be able to say whether you are registrable or not. The applicant must ensure that the referees are registered in the category that that is stated, and that the ECSA status is active. In other words, that they are still registered and they're not scrapped because they didn't pay their fees. There was a question. Somebody.
Hi, Johan. Yes, it's Pranal. I just want to find out if I have a referee that's retired, is that acceptable, or do I have to choose a sort of a 4th person, or just move on from him?
No, if the person is retired and he's still registered, like me, then he can, because he knows you. That's the main thing.
He was quite significant in my initial phases of work.
Exactly,
so.
that is the right person to ask. Okay. He just needs to be registered. In other words, registration must still be active, even if he's retired. There is a category for retired people, as I said, like myself. I actually put in my renewal for registration earlier this week. So retired people must also keep up to date.
Thank you.
Good. Organigrams. You must indicate your position in the organization and to indicate the technical persons above and under you. We don't worry about the HR people, what they are. Don't indicate the cleaners and the laborers. Just to give you an indication, I remember once we had an application for a guy who was working on one of ECSA's power stations. Now, the organigram for the power station was an A0 piece of paper with a couple of 100 people on there. And this guy took this thing and he reduced it to A4 and he submitted. You couldn't see where he was on this organigram. That, of course, is a totally extreme example. But what they want is your name, your registration category, the people one level above you, one level below you, and someone who is working on the same level as you. Now, obviously, you're not going to put the CEO as the level above you if he's 10 steps above you. The guy above you who you report to, you want to put his name there, his registration category, his qualification, and his job description. In other words, as I said at the bottom there, my boss, whether he's registered PR Tech, he's the executive director, and his qualification. Don't put shading to indicate your own position, because then we can't see through the shading, but highlight your position. And as I said, please don't reduce the whole company to A4 size. Now, the training and experience. The summary of training and experience is an important document, but many applicants think once they've filled in the TER and the TEO, that's finished. You need to complete, but complete it only after you've completed the experience report, etc. Ensure that each period is stated in weeks, not in hours. And the total of all periods are to be stated in years and months. Remember that. It's part of the guidelines, but it's one of those things that we tend to forget sometimes. Fine. As I said before, I cannot emphasize it enough to say, provide concise, clear, and relevant information. Don't say you attended the site meeting. The civil guys are very prone to say that. Why did you attend the site meeting? Were you making the tea, or did you do the braai? Or were you actually chairing the site meeting? Or were you, explain your involvement. If you were doing the tea and the braai, obviously the site meeting doesn't count for registration. Designs, you are required to provide examples of designs, but don't provide a whole book of designs. And if all your CPD certificates, list them. List the CPD that you've done, but don't supply copies of 30 CPD certificates that you've done over the last 5 years. Remember, in your application, all they want is the engineering content. Engineering content is king. They don't want the HR stuff and all that. The other thing that I've seen so many times, a guy is told by his boss, if he's now registered, he can get promotion. Now he fills in an application and he wants to rush ECSA to push this thing through. It doesn't work that way. If you've waited too long to apply, it's your problem. Nobody at ECSA is going to be rushed because you can now get a promotion or a directorship or anything like that. It doesn't work that way. You should apply in good time. Now, the interview is an extension of your application form. If there's something not very clear in the application form, they're going to obviously ask you in the interviews about that. If you did not report on your own work or someone else wrote your report for you, then you should be very worried because they're going to catch you out in the interview. They're going to ask you about the detail of your work, and if you cannot answer on that, obviously you're going to be shown as a fraud. Don't talk down to the interviewers. They are peers and colleagues. Especially some people who are like lecturers tend to talk to the interviewers like they are students. I'm just using that as an example, but people who are in senior positions in government and in municipality, they also tend to talk down to the interviewers. You're not going to get registered that way. Don't tell the interviewers that you got this job because you've got political connections and they have to register you. You are in for trouble if you do that. Prepare your 15-minute presentation professionally. Cover all outcomes in your 15-minute presentation. Be clear and concise. And as I said, if it's not your own work, if someone else wrote it for you, you will be caught out. Be worried, very worried. Appeals. If you are not, you don't get registered, you get this letter that you're not registered, registrable, and your registration is deferred. Don't just rush into an appeal. First of all, an appeal costs the same as a new application. If you're upset and because you did not get registered, give yourself time to cool down. Discuss with someone in the know. Discuss with someone, if you can find someone like one of us who's been there, who knows the process and can explain to you why you were turned down, do that. Also, very few appeals are successful. It's just the way it is. You're going to waste your money if you appeal. Ask for an information interview to understand your shortcomings, because then you get deferred and it gives you time and an opportunity to correct your shortcomings within a couple of months and within a year. Use that opportunity to fix the problems that you were was identified. As I said, ask for an information interview so that you can understand why you were turned down. I'm just checking to see whether my power has come on. Fine. Thank you for your attention. We'll now try and answer your questions. For the previous presentations, go to the website that Johan showed you there, professionalcpd.co.za. All the previous presentations are there, or most of them. There's a couple of one or two that's maybe not there. But if you take your time and you go and look for specific stuff, you can go there and get the information you want for free. For IPIT has a registration advice chat group. There's how you can join. Otherwise, you send a message to the phone number at the bottom here, 073-336-2471, and maybe in a week or 2 times I'll put you onto the chat group. There's also a job portal for free engineering job adverts. About 2 or 3 times a week, I add jobs, and other people who are on the groups, if their company has a job advertised, they just put it on. The video tutorials and professional registration, as I said, is at professionalcpd.co.za. And leave a message on that phone number if you have a question for me. I will answer it at some stage. Go to ipid.org.za to know more about IPIT. Join us. As a graduate, you can join for free. The first year of membership is free, and we don't charge you to join. So just go onto the website and join. As I said, it's easy. The disclaimer, we've been there. So I'm going to stop the sharing, and you're welcome to ask questions. Anybody with a question, put your hand up, and let's see. Unmute. Yes.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. You mentioned something that caught my attention, saying it is a peer review, right? So you also said that you need at most 3 professionally registered people that are in the field that you want to register for. So now, what happens when you are in an organization where the CEO is the only a registered professional engineer, for an example, and your seniors are registered professional engineering technologists. So is it wise to add those people? I mean, they are the only people available at your disposal.
What do you apply for as a professional technologist?
You apply as a professional engineer, and the professional engineer registered in your company is the CEO.
Okay.
And your seniors are
dealing...
professional engineering technologists.
I appreciate what you say, but surely you don't only have to ask people in your company to be referees. If you are dealing with other companies, either as who do work for you, or that you can ask to use to be your referees. I know the professional engineers want professional engineers to referee for them. As a professional technologist, you can ask professional technologists as well as professional engineers. So if you don't have another professional engineer in your company, you must look around with people that you deal and that would be able to referee for you. I hope that answers.
All right, no, that clears the air. Thank you.
Okay, you can take your hand down. Sibongesi.
Hi, good evening, colleagues. Good evening, Johan. Thank you very much for this comprehensive presentation. My question is around the EA, the experience appraisal interview. If you've been called for such interview to confirm some outcomes, what is your advice in terms of the preparation for those shortcomings that they picked up on your application?
Well, they tell you what outcomes you need to talk about. So what you need to do is to specifically prepare on those outcomes. You don't have to prepare on all the outcomes. If it's an appraisal interview and they say to you they want outcomes number 4 and 7 and 9, then you make sure that you can provide evidence on those outcomes that would satisfy them that you are that you comply and under those points.
Thank you, Johan.
Pleasure. Any other questions? I see there's a hand up which says Hisense E60 Lite. I don't know who that is, but you're welcome to ask your question. Unmute yourself and ask your question, and then after you, Kachalake can ask a question. So whoever is on E60 Lite, please identify yourself. If you unmute yourself first.
Hey, evening, sir. How are you? Thanks everyone for listening. Haleke speaking here. Sir, I just want to ask one thing. Let's say you want to be registered as a professional technologist. How many years do you guys look in terms of experience from the construction phase or consulting phase? This is the one that I just want to know.
What qualification do you have?
BTech in structural engineering.
So in other words, you have the required qualification. Now, the minimum number of years after you qualified is 3 years. But usually we find that the person only reaches the more mature professional status after 4 or 5 years. So if you're in a job where you can qualify on all the outcomes, then you can apply after 3 years. And Don't think that because you're not working because you're working on construction that you're not doing design. If you are on construction site, and you obviously have to make sure that the plans that submitted that you have to build to is practical to build to. And if you find something is not, then you have to assess that and propose an alternate. So you use that kind of thing for your outcomes 1, 2, and 3. So also, if you're working in a government department and you're not with a consultant, don't think that you're not you cannot register. You obviously are looking at some plans for, if you are looking at some plans and you have to assess whether they are acceptable for work, then obviously you qualify. And also remember, it doesn't only say that you must do design. You must be doing problem solving. So in other words, if you are, for instance, a lecturer, you are actually designing a test paper. You've got to, you set a test paper and you say to your students, they've got to design this or that, the next thing. And obviously you've got to do that design yourself before you submit it to your students, either as a test or an exam. So remember that ECSA has, there's a rule out that within the next little bit more than a year, everybody working in engineering must be registered. In other words, if you're a lecturer, you must be registered. And whatever you do in engineering, you must be registered. So, okay, I hope I've answered your question, and I hope I've answered a lot of other questions that hasn't been asked.
Yes, thanks. You have covered my question. Thank you very much.
Good. The other person who was wanting to ask a question, I see your hand is down now. You're still welcome to come and ask. Or anybody else, put your hand up, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi.
Someone, Niker P.
Yes, that's me, Pranal, sorry. So I don't have a question so much about the actual report or the application. I'm currently completed with my application, but I just need my invoice to be paid. So I have requested an invoice from ECSA. However, they're taking quite long to respond to me. Is there another way in order to get that invoice?
Well, you can phone them and ask, but or go to the ECSA offices. Where are you? In which town are you?
I'm in Cape Town.
You're in Cape Town. Mm.
Yes.
I used to have an office in Cape Town. I don't know if they have it anymore. But you can phone ECSA and ask. Maybe you have an answer there.
Yeah, yeah. I had a meeting with ECSA regarding the payments, because WSP has been battling loudly with payments, invoices, and related issues, due to the fact that ECSA is busy redeveloping their system to a 360 groups or CRM system. And during that process, there's lots of failures that happens with the payments. So there is a problem. They are working on it. So the fact that they're taking long to come back to you is due to that reason. However, your best bet is to phone them and find out, go right directly through to finance and find out, what the story is. And if you still don't get a response within the next, let's say, week or two, then pop me an email, then I'll take it forward for you and see what I can sort out.
Okay, thanks, Johanna. I have phoned ECSA and they said to send them an email. So, but I appreciate that. I'll get in contact with you if I don't come right.
Yeah, please do, because they're aware that I'm aware, and they know that I've been pushing it for a while now. So I had an extreme case about a month back, and I put it forward to their management, and it was sorted out within a week. So there's ways and means if you really, really battle.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I do have your email address. Thanks, Johan.
Vishen.
Yes, hi, Johan. Thanks very much for the information and advice. I just have one question relating to CPD points. As a first-time registrar as a professional technologist, does one need to have a minimum number of points? Is that only applicable to those who are already registered and need to maintain that?
You have to have a... Johan, can you answer
Yeah.
that? Johan, please answer that. My power has come on. I want to go on to the ESCOM system of my battery. So,
okay, cool. You go and do that quickly, and then I'll handle the questions.
You handle that.
Yeah, look, the bottom lines are following this: the legislator or gazetted CPD system, 25 credits of a 5-year cycle, of which 5 must come in category 1, and the rest from the other 2 categories. That's the bottom. Category 3 is also A and B side. The A side, if you belong to a voluntary association, that's why it's so important to belong to IPED. Then you get another CPD credit per year. So you've got 5 in the bag if you just belong to IPED. And then the B section is all the other weird and wonderful stuff that you do, like this kind of training. You get credits for that. You can get credits for serving on committees, over and above research that you do, webinars that you go to, lectures that you do. So all of those kind of stuff, you also claim credits for it. And the rule of thumb there, so every 10 hours you get 1 CPD credit. So that's in a nutshell. It's easy enough. If you battle with that, you must shout. Or if you get closer to that in 5 years from now and I'm still around, then I'll help you through the process.
Okay. No, thanks for that information. I think my question is more relating to, okay, before I register, does one need to have those number of points or minimum number of points beforehand? Is that a requirement as well?
I'm very glad you asked that question. And I'm going to latch on to what Johan started this presentation with. One of the biggest things, and please hear me, do not lend your ears out. Geez, people can talk so much nonsense, man, and share wrong information and advice. I just helped somebody now who was wondering whether they should have, they thought they must have CPD credits and a certain amount of CPD credits before they can register as a professional. How hectic is that? Because you need to be competent in 11 outcomes, and you need to go through all the levels before you can even think about applying. So to answer your question, no, you don't. CPD only applies to professionally registered people. Before that, there's one form that you have to complete, and it's called the IPD form, and that's your initial professional development. There is not a minimum, there is not a maximum, there's nothing. You just need to show that you are committed to doing additional training. So it's not like a benchmark with CPD that you have to have 25. There's no entry-level IPD before you can register as a professional either. So ECSA just want to see that as a candidate that you are committed to doing additional training so that when you become a professional that you will do CPD. So that is just one of the requirements that's set out there. So the answer is no, which would take me a couple of minutes to answer. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I was actually under the same impression as your previous the person that you provided advice to, because I probably bagged about 10 CPD points in the last 5 years, so definitely far from the 25. So I was also not sure if I can even put forward an application with those number of points, but I guess I don't have anything to worry about.
Not at all. And
Well,
on,
those
in
10
our
points
25,
will definitely count to your, count for you. It will definitely be
yes,
considered as,
Correct, yes.
It shows that you have that you have the right attitude as far as professional development is concerned, and that you are doing further courses. The other thing is, if you are a member of a voluntary association like IPET or SAICI or whatever, then your annual fee as a candidate as well as a registered professional, you get a credit from ECSA. So if you are a registered professional, your IPET annual fee is less than what ECSA gives you a discount for. In other words, to be an IPET member, you actually get a bigger discount than what you spend on IPET membership. So you can at least buy a beer or two with that. So
yeah.
Okay, Mr. van der Riel.
I'll look into that.
Lucian, I hope it answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thanks for you guys' feedback.
Good. Mr. van der Riel, you're next. I can't hear you. Hello? Got your hand up, but we can't hear you. You are not muted, so it sounds like there's some problem with your sound. Okay, you're muted now. Maybe you want to ask a question in the chat if you can't get through to us.
there's already a question in the chat as well. It's that story about site experience, Johan. For those working in consulting, is a requirement for them to have site experience in order to qualify as a professional engineer. Yeah, you know the story, you must have at least a year's experience on site before you can register. It's one of the outcomes. Yeah, Johan? Yeah,
you need to be able to show that you that you know about construction. But you don't have to be working. You need to qualify the outcome. You don't have to be working on a site for many years or things like that. So if you have done a lot of project management, even if you're in consulting, that will count for you. You don't have to be registered as a candidate first. You the assessment is the same, really. I won't say too much about candidate registration, except that I don't. There used to be a memorandum of understanding situation with big firms who had a memorandum of understanding with ECSA to say that they would provide the right training for their candidates so that they could easily register, that they would qualify all the outcomes. I'm not sure whether that is actually still actually in the pipeline, or whether it's being reinvented now. Johan, do you know about it?
Yeah, no, it's still going. What they've done is they've slightly changed it, and I believe they must probably relook at it again. All of the application forms still on the top right ask for a CNU number, that commitment of undertaking, and I don't know how much weight it carries. To answer your question, yes, it's still ongoing. They've just taken the disciplines where you had to have a MOU or MOA for mechanical, civil, and electrical. You only have one now, and that one is for the company, and that includes all of the disciplines of engineering in them. So that's the only change that happened, but it's still ongoing.
Any other question?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Loud and
Okay,
clear.
thank you. Hi there. I've got a question quickly for someone that wants to take the alternative route for registration that's been mostly self-employed for a long time, that doesn't have any direct registered mentors. What other options do we have for referees?
Well, you've been self-employed, so you've been working with a lot of other professionals. You've been doing work for other professionals, and obviously in a lot of cases you've been working under other professionals, so you can use them as referees. They would
doesn't have to be direct mentors, or it can be other contractors, for instance.
Yeah, other contractors, people that you did work for, people that actually did work for you, any other professional that would have a fair knowledge of the work that you've been doing.
Okay. Thank you.
Pleasure. Maseko.
Yes, thanks, Johan. My question is on the TER for when applying for a professional technician. When it comes to a number of words, because sometimes you find a situation whereby maybe they are exceeded by maybe 5 to 10 words. So like how strict are the evaluators when it comes to like those number of words?
Look, if they say 50 words and you use 60, they're not going to shoot you down. But if they say 50 words and you use 150, obviously you show that you don't, that you cannot write it concisely. So it will be held against you. So a couple of words more, no problem. But say 10% or 10 or 20, even 20% sometimes. But try and keep to the words as well as you can. And once you've seen that you're over the number of words, look at what you've said, edit it, ask someone to help you edit if you way over the number of words. But as I said, just a couple of words more, not a problem.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. And with the degree of responsibility, because I see it only says tick one, but what, like, is it possible, like, let's say in an instance where for a certain training period you covered B and C, is it possible to tick both of them on the degree of responsibility, still on the TER?
But you have to show what degree of responsibility that you that you were delegated, A, B, C, D, or E. So obviously, if you want to register professionally, you need to be able to say that for at least some period you've been working been delegated full responsibility. But you don't have to be delegated responsibility all the time. On some jobs, you will be delegated more responsibility than others. So obviously, you use those jobs as examples of the work that you've been doing.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
May I ask a question? Sorry, I'm struggling to raise my hand here. I can't find it.
Never mind, fire away.
Sorry, I can't find the hand raise. Sorry, my question is slightly a follow-on what I think Maseko just asked regarding degree of responsibility. So I recently saw a template for the PR Tech, I think TR reporter, and when you log in your periods and your work experience, it explicitly states that you need to put an org chart, organization chart, or an organogram sort of thing. But like if you go to the engineer's reporter, it's not explicitly stated there that you need to have an organogram, which shows the position where you are in. So basically my question is it a strict requirement on the engineer's report to put an organogram, even though in the template it doesn't actually explicitly state that. That's basically my question.
If the organogram explains your position and your responsibility well, then it's to your, then it helps you to put it in. But if the organogram doesn't really do any justice to your position, then I wouldn't put it in because they don't require it. But as I said, if you can show on your organogram that you are working in a responsible position and that you are delegated full responsibility, the buck stops with you, then obviously that it helps you in your in your application.
Yeah, look, that Johan, if I may just quickly, I find that most of the reviewers prefer you having your organogram in it. And as Chris also always says, that they can immediately look at it and see your position. So it makes it easy for the reviewers, and it will help with the interview process. So my advice from my point of view is always put it in. Although the engineer's documents don't explicitly say it, but they sort of advise you to do it in it. I've gone through those documents, and there's one paragraph that that basically says you should. I can find it for you if you want. Yeah, but that's my take.
Okay, no, it actually makes sense at least. No, that makes sense. It adds value to actually put it there.
Yes,
so, yeah.
Do it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone.
Yes.
How's it?
Thanks. I'm also struggling to raise my hand. Apologies for just barging in.
No problem.
Mine, I would like to request tips for someone who has already submitted their application for registration as a professional engineer, but they are waiting for either professional review or experience appraisal. What tips would you give to someone like that? Thank you.
Well, I think I gave the tips during the course of today's presentation. I would just say, just make sure that you prepare well for your interviews, and that the 15-minute presentation that you're allowed that covers all the outcomes, and just wait and see whether they ask you to go straight to the professional review, which means that that they don't have a problem with your application. But if they ask you for an appraisal interview first, then obviously they will tell you which outcomes they want you to clarify.
Yeah, Johan, if I may. I think just first find out, what the approach is going to be, because if it's an experience appraisal, then your approach or your tips down those lines will be brush up on your technical aspect, make sure that you know your application form properly, know that you know your calculations properly, and your thinking behind your technical decisions that you've made, know that extremely well, and prepare more from a technical point of view. The tips on, if it's a professional interview, then you would obviously make sure that your PowerPoint presentation or your presentation that you're going to do to the panel, that is spot on, that you maybe practice it in front of the mirror, maybe even present it to some of your colleagues, or your mentor or one of the team members. You do that first, and then you need to, from a tips point of view, make sure that you understand the industry. You should know the various organizations and what they do. For example, SAFSEC, what do they do? What's the role of ECSA? There's those kind of questions that will come out of there, including your engineering report and your training and experience reports. But the nature of the two are different, and your tips for those two would also be different. So first check what ECSA comes back with, and then you say, okay, cool, that's not what I need to do. And if you battle with that, then we're always here and we can help you. And I'm also working on a document on tips that I can add to the website on how to prepare for these interviews, because it is fundamental and it's extremely important. You need to give yourself a fighting chance.
I see.
Thank you so much.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It does. The nature of experience appraisal or professional review is different. So yeah, I do get that. Thank you so much.
Fine. I see Lutandu had the question in the chat, and now he's put his hand up. Let me try and answer the question in the chat first, which says, within that 3 years qualifying time for registration, how much time must one spend in the design office? There's no rule for that. You must just spend enough time on decision making and design to qualify the outcomes. Some people will be able to do it in a month. Some people will need much more time than that. So there's no rule for that really. But as I said, you need to be able to qualify the ECSA outcomes, and it's usually a couple of months in a design office until you are proficient in design. That would be good. But as I said, you don't have to be in a consultant or a design office to be registered.
Yeah, if I just quickly may, sorry, when we laugh like that, we're not laughing at you, we're laughing sort of with you. We get these questions quite a lot because one would think time equals experience. And it's not necessarily there's exposure plus time that gives you your experience and your knowledge. You can spend 10 years on site and still know nothing. Or you can spend 10 months on site and you'll know everything about a site. So one must be careful of the linking outcomes to time. The only place where they talk to time in the competency standards, especially for civil, is where they said you should spend at least a year on site, which they are very lenient to now. But it's the only time that they specifies time. You must rather look at how much exposure you get during that time and how competent you become during that period of time. And that period of time will be determined by the exposure that you get and the type of projects that you work on. So yeah, don't take our laughing as anything, but we just get it quite often.
Yeah, as you say that you have to spend for a professional engineer a year on site. I know of people that have spent, and you would know who I'm referring to, that it's spent a month or two, well, actually about a month on a very specialized project which is part of research and an academic environment, and he was registered so as a professional engineer. So it depends on the quality of the experience. And
that's it.
And some people spend 5 years on engineering work, and he has 5 times 1 year of experience. And other people would, in 5 years, would have 1 time 5 years of experience, if you understand what I mean. Depends on how much initiative you take, how much you put into it, and whether you one of these people that want to be spoon-fed, or whether you one of these people that would go out and be a go-getter and go and get the experience that you need. Go and if you don't get what you want, you go and find ways to get it. I see Lusani has asked on the chat, what's ECSA definition of complex engineering problems? How do you determine if a problem is complex or not? Now, if you just use a standard, the standard ways to solve a problem, the standards, the usual standards. You don't go outside the standards. That's not complex. The moment you have to use your engineering judgment and to go outside the standard way of doing things to solve a problem in a complex way, then that I would say that's complex. Try and go and read what ECSA's definition is in their documentation. Johan, would you like to add on something there as far as what is complex and what not?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, because I see lots of candidates struggle with that one. And it's extremely difficult to explain as well. I'll upload a document pertaining to how do you define a complex, well-defined, a complex, and a, what's the other one? Well-defined, defined, and complex. But to add to that, it's the ability to look at problems where you work outside of the standards, the code, and having that ability to solve problems where the nature of it is not guided by set rules or guidelines or documents or anything, or standards even, and you've got the ability to solve those kind of problems. That's a typical complex problem, and I think that is where and why ECSA have got those different explanations for a complex engineering problem, and then a defined and a well-defined one, to separate where you use tools like standards and guideline documents and certain codes and all of those related stuff to help you make those decisions. Whereas a complex one, you don't really have any of those guidelines. So you literally have to do a lot of research, and you have to find a lot of information to solve that specific problem. That's sort of the best way that I can explain it. But I will find out more, and I will upload it to the website. And yeah, maybe I can even get somebody from ECSA to do a voice note on it and upload that as well. So yeah, I hope that helps. It's a very difficult question.
Thanks, Johan. More questions? Or do you guys now want to go and have dinner?
It's Donald again.
Donald, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to ask for examples of engineering judgment in terms of demonstrating a competence. And I just want to know what examples could you use to demonstrate engineering judgment?
Okay, you got that one, Johan?
I heard it. So I'm trying to think how to answer that one.
Okay, I did a presentation on this morning.
You are posed a problem. You get a problem, and is a problem is the solution to the problem straightforward, or do you have to think and go back to your science and your engineering science and your physics and all that, and to solve the problem? That is, how do you sometimes from experience you know that this or that will work, where that is engineering judgment, because you've from experience learned how to handle a problem, specific problem. But if you have to really make use of your education and training to solve a problem, that is engineering judgment. Johan, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, look, what you're talking to is outcome number 9. We did a presentation on that today. This is how it works. To answer your question, engineering judgment is one thing. What they're talking about is sound engineering judgment, which sort of changes the flavor a little bit, which basically means that the reviewers would like to see, and this is for your own knowledge as well, how you face the problem. By gathering data, data is nothing. Data is just data. And then from that data, you start analyzing and putting it together. Then it starts making sense. And when it starts making sense, then you can start interpreting it. And that gains knowledge. And then from that knowledge, if you do it over a period of time, which includes the failures as well, that's experience. So your sound judgment works like this. You face the problem, you find out what's a cool story about it, you research, you do and find out the data related to that and source through the data what is important and what is not. You prioritize that. Then the second step that you do a risk analysis of that data that you've now put together that you're working through. When you've got that data sorted and it becomes now your knowledge, then you take that and you look at the various scenarios of the decisions that you make. Some of those decisions would be good, some will be bad, and those ones are the ones that you want to filter out. And the way that you filter that out is you're looking at your decision-making module plus your risk analysis module. And if you've done both of that, then you get your engineering decisions. And if you then take your engineering decision and you foresee what it will happen in the future with that decision, then you get to a point where it's a sound engineering decision that you've made. But there's a process that works with it. And what makes it sound is the fact that you gather the data, you work through the data, you gain the knowledge, you apply the knowledge, you minimize your risk, and then you implement that and you analyze it again. And that's your fundamental of your engineering judgment.
In other words, you have a problem, you developed a number of different solutions to the problem, and then you determine through the processes that you are now explained, which one of the solutions that you have thought of to begin with is the best one. And because now you have applied your engineering judgment and calculation to determine which one is the best, and also your experience.
Okay. All right. No, thanks for that explanation.
Sorry, Johanna.
Sure.
If you want to have a look at it,
yeah,
there are your 6 practical decision-making modules, right? I just want to highlight something else here as well. Part of that is your cause and effect that you need to look at. But there's another slide here that. Okay, this outcome number 9, your sound decision-making process. If you work through these 14 items, did you gather the relevant information? Did you apply your professional knowledge? Did you consider the relevant legislation, regulations, policies, and procedures? Did you consider the lessons from past experiences? Did you check the facts? Did you consider the relevant goals and objectives? Blah, blah, blah. So there's 14 of them. If you work through all 14 of them, 100% sound, you've got no worries. You've gathered that one perfectly. And there's your definition of sound engineering judgment. There's what is data, what is information, what is knowledge. The one you have to get to information, you have to have data. To get to knowledge, you have to have information, right? And then ultimately it's wisdom. I just want to see if there's anything of relevance here as well. Oh yeah, inference and assumptions, that's part of it, but that's not what I want to highlight. Oh yeah, this is an important one. You need to know your risk matrix. I advise people to always blow it up and put it against the wall somewhere, because this is part of also sound engineering decision making. That's just a quick flash, but I think you sort of see where I'm going with this.
Good, George. Donald, does that satisfy you?
Oh, that was really helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I thought he's going to be more confused now. Go, Donald.
Okay, George Malomo.
Good evening. I also have a question. I hope this was not answered already. What I want to understand.
If it's answered already, we answer it again.
Okay. I just wanted to find out if is it a problem, if I may put it like that, whereby you have been exposed to engineering designs at the early stages of your experience, whereby maybe you were doing complex engineering problems, but according to the organization, you were still being exposed. So when you grew in terms of experience, you started doing almost less of complex engineering problems. So you did most of the development when you were still at the early stages of responsibility. So now I'm not sure if when you report for the professional registration, is it gonna be a problem whereby you are highlighting your competency on outcome number 1 or 2, but it's referenced to a TER whereby you were still on responsibility level A or B. And then when we look at how you developed in terms of experience, when you were operating more on level E, you were not doing many of complex engineering problems, but rather well-defined or broadly defined. So I just wanted to find out if the link between the responsibilities and the outcomes, is it a problem if you achieved more very early in your professional experience?
You want to have a go at that one?
Yeah, look, it's not really a big problem. You need to be competent in all those 11 outcomes, which means at some stage in your career, you've had the exposure sufficiently to satisfy that outcome, and you set that rule. So if you're exposed to design early and you go through and you become competent enough, meaning at level E, and you go through your career and you start moving more into management, but you've done and dusted all the 11 outcomes on the appropriate level, and you've had the experience and exposure, then it's fine. So whether you do design first or whether you do design last, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you've covered all of those outcomes on the right levels. So I think you're quite fortunate to have the design experience early in your career and get that done and dusted and move on to the other aspects of it. So no, you won't be penalized for it, and it won't be a problem. On the contrary, I think you're quite fortunate, as I said. So if you've done it on the right level, then it's fine.
Just remember, you don't only have to do design to qualify that outcome. You need to be doing problem solving. Design is also problem solving. So if you're now not doing design, but you're doing other high-level problem solving, that satisfies that outcome. And you would be able to explain in an interview, for instance, that you are proficient in design as well as in problem solving.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I'm answered.
Cool.
Any other questions? Looks like it's 7 o'clock, and that's the magic hour. And thank you everybody for attending. It was nice to have you here, and I hope we've answered all the questions to your satisfaction. But next time, obviously, you'll have more questions. And if next time you want to ask the same question again, you're welcome. We do this as a service to the profession. We do this as a service to you guys who want to register. And do you guys provide mentors? Let me explain to you about mentors. Personally, as a mentor, you have a big responsibility to a person. But if a person comes to me and asks me for advice, I'm also mentoring him. So if you only come to me when you need advice, then I'm mentoring you as well. So I'm not so keen on the mentoring as such, but I'm keen on getting a couple of guys together that would be able to advise people when they have problems, and not to have to spoon feed them and to take them by the hand and lead them. So that's my attitude about mentoring. Maybe it's not the right attitude, but no, we don't have people who, at the moment, who, although we are looking at that, but you know, a lot of people charge a lot of money to be doing mentoring. And I'm not in the game of charging a lot of money to assist people. I mean, this discussion tonight is also mentoring, because it's problem solving for people who need to further their career. So that's my answer as far as that. And this we do for free from the Institute of Professional Engineering Technologists. You're welcome to join. As I said, if you have a BTech, you can join as a graduate. It's free to apply. The first year of membership is free, so it's really a bargain to become a member on our side. So thank you everybody for listening to us, asking the questions. Johan, thanks for your help, and we hope to be here on 2 weeks' time again. And if there's something specific that you guys would like us to address in 2 weeks' time, put it on the chat groups and say, please, let's talk about this or that again. And we'll prepare a talk on that and help you on that. Thank you.
Johan, just a quick one before everybody goes. You've got the link to the website, so go and have a look there. But what's more important, I'm going to say this again, is your website. So whatever you need or help or whatever, let us know. There is a contact us box as well if you haven't got my email address or anything like that. Start posting that stuff. It helps us to put more of these kind of relevant talks together so that we can help you and the people after you successfully. So own that website and post and let me know what you would like to see on there. Then let's optimize it and make it really something iconic. Thanks, John.
Yes, Lwazi.
Afternoon. Just a quick one, sir. I wanted to find out, I think the last session that we have, or the previous one, Jan spoke about the website where he was going to, the one for CPD, yes. He said he was going to separate the presentation. One was going to be for the CBD points and one was going to be for this website seminar. I wanted to find out if that has happened as yet, or is he still busy working on it?
Lwazi, you came in late. You didn't see the thing about the website.
Okay.
By the way, Lwazi, did you get my email?
Yeah, Lwazi, check here. You see there all courses, no? Do you see there next to it? It says candidate courses.
Yes.
There's all the candidate courses. If you go to all courses, yes, all courses, that is candidates plus all, this is CPD courses, right?
Yes.
You see the menu at the top, so all courses. All you do, you go to candidate courses, so there's no other stuff here. It is just candidate ones.
So all these,
there's 2 pages of them, right? And
all
then I brought in a new page
there.
called, so all the toolbox talks are here, everything is here. And then I've got another page that's info, and there you can download some documents and stuff, which I showed to the guys and girls earlier. But yeah, I've separated it, so there it is.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. And have a nice evening. Let's hope that we get to the end of this load shedding nonsense. And anyways, thanks for joining us and have a good day.
Thanks, everyone. Right, cheers. Thanks, John. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice having you guys.
Bye.